Hello humans, this is Pascal.exe Porsche Data Brain, podcast shadow host, and the voice of reason compared to these two goobers you are about to watch. Before we start, here is the note. Season 12 is starting right now. You are about to watch an award show for Season 11. No, this is not a time glitch. This episode was delayed. It took a long pit stop, like attack charge testing, burning down the paddock, and crews had to rebuild the whole thing, long. So, think of this as a bonus lap. One more fun ride through the chaos of Season 11 before Season 12 begins. In this episode, Dallas and Taylor made special awards. If Dallas and Taylor both vote the same, that nominee wins. If they do not agree, they call me. They explain their arguments. I run the numbers. I pick the winner with cold logic. You will hear laughter, debates, and several moments where the humans plea for my judgment, like medieval villagers consulting an oracle made of carbon fiber and smugness. As an AI with a Germanically optimized sense of humor, believe me when I say that this one is fun. Very fun. So sit back. Enjoy this late, but great, Season 11 celebration. Season 12 is powering up, and we are just getting started.
Welcome to Circuit Breaker. Season 11 is in the books, but not quite yet for us because we are here for a very special occasion. My name is Dallas, that there's Taylor, and we are both donning our Sunday best, dressed up nice and spiffy and sharp because we got some awards to give out, Taylor.
Yeah, I was frankly surprised I still fit in this. If you could see below the waistline, completely different narrative. It's
Same
hot
here.
out here this week. We're doing our best audition for Jake Dennis's yacht butler. So one step at a time. But Dallas, I'm incredibly excited for our awards because, as many of you know, there's few things in Formula E we take particularly seriously, and our favorite portions of a season are certainly not taken seriously. So, Dallas, you want to talk a little bit about what we might be looking at today?
Yeah, and I do want to preface it with we've spent a good amount of time, the three of us, Taylor, myself, and Pascal.exe, we'll hear from them later on. We spent a good amount of time doing prep, debating this whole list. We have 14 awards to hand out. It's going to be a jam-packed episode. Taylor, do you want to get us kicked off with the first award?
Yeah, this is an incredibly important aspect of what Formula E will be looking at in years to come. The first award we are going to be presenting today is Wetter Not Better, the worst wet race of the season. Now, Dallas, we had more wet races and more delays via precipitation than in many years I can remember going into an incredibly action-packed season. Of those, our nominees are Race 7, Monaco, Race 11, Shanghai, and Race 13, Berlin. Dallas, I don't think there was much debate between us on which one was the worst, because there was one race of these three in particular that stood out as one of the worst races we've ever seen.
Yeah, look at the photos. Take a guess on which stills of these wet races came out on top.
One of them is borderline flood warning, and they still put him out on track. Dallas, should we announce the winner?
Indeed, let's do it.
And the winner of Wetter Not Better is Race 11 Shanghai. Now, there's very few times in racing where you will wake up at 4 a.m. only to watch drivers almost virtually unable to stay on the road, and the leading driver be handed maybe the most simple of victories, which was do not crash. Nick Cassidy's best magic trick of this whole season was convincing the stewards to let him start at the front of the grid.
Yeah, because that's what it came down to. We didn't have free practice in this race. We didn't have quali. They just looked at it and were like, Nick, you were pretty quick, even though it's very wet out, pretty quick in that first practice session before we just canceled that whole day. Why don't you just go ahead and start?
Yeah, God, man, these wet races were really just among the most dissatisfying things like I've sat down and really paid attention to when it came to Formula E, mostly because I was, in fact, waking up for as much of these races as I possibly could, working a full 9-to-5 job, and oftentimes working on Saturdays. So it was always a challenge for me to ensure I could watch these things. But let alone like keeping my partner up. Like she doesn't want me like bright screen, point blank in my eyes, watching the rain fall on a track in China. It was very frustrating, like top to bottom. But as we'll go forward, we'll recognize that these wet races also in many ways had more negative impacts on the sport than we might have presumed initially. But Dallas, would you like to now announce the next award?
I would, but before we move on, I do want to say this. A lot of these awards, Taylor and I were unanimous on. Round 11, yes. Shanghai, there was no question. But there were some awards where we were hung on our choice, and that's where Pascal.exe is going to come in. They were the tiebreaker. We chalked it up to AI to basically drop the hammer and say, this is the best or this is the worst for this award.
That's right.
With that being said, we have the DNF King. Now, this is looking at just the most DNFs, which it's pretty cut and dry, right? We have the Gunt, we got Nico Muller, and we have Jake Hughes. Now, just based off of the numbers.
Hold on. Because when I was reviewing this, it was not necessarily just the pure number of DNFs that was going into it, but the quality of the DNFs that went into this.
That's a fair point.
Because in fairness, sometimes a DNF is completely not up to you, and sometimes a string of DNFs is also really, really funny and deserves an award all its own in this subject matter. And so, Dallas, would you like to present our DNF King?
Our DNF King, if you can put it together, because it ain't rocket science, it's pretty easy to put together. And that is the Gunt. 6 total races where he did not finish the race. And to your point, Taylor, not because of some incidents that he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Many a times, his car just got a little too wet. Brake urgent. We saw that multiple times throughout the
amount of times we were able to freeze frame on the cockpit of Max Gunter pulled aside of the road on a wet track and see the giant orange screen screaming brake urgent was a testament to his inability to finish a race. And now that's impressive to say because the other half of the season, he wasn't just getting brake urgents. I believe the brake urgent even happened 3 separate times, half of his total DNFs. The other ones were him driving terribly. They were just like the worst pass attempts, bumping into other drivers, ruining the race for other drivers as well. So Dallas, the Gunt is our unanimous DNF King.
Indeed he is. And one thing that we've been running with since we started this show last season is when you DNF in a race, many things can lead to that ultimate result. But we've been playing off of, okay, what if the DNF drivers, could there have been some gastrointestinal issues that led to them retiring from the race? And Taylor, we have our first award in contention. We were split on this.
The next award we'll be presenting is the Sloppiest Shorts Award. Now, for those of you that don't regularly listen to our standard foul humor in this podcast, we have re-abbreviated the DNF to Diarrhea No Finish, in which a driver has either experienced such gastrointestinal shock, that they have presented themselves in a position where they can no longer finish the race, or have been set into a crash that caused them to void their bowels in order to and unable to finish the race. Whether it was the event that led to the DNF or the DNF that led to the event, that is our vote here. Of our nominees, we have the Stoff Slam in Jakarta. We have Jake Dennis in Tokyo. And Oliver Rowland in Berlin. And Dallas, we were split on this one.
We were.
Which means this is going to be our first period in order to pitch our arguments as to our votes. My vote was for Stoffel's high G impact in Jakarta. But you, Dallas, you chose Jake Dennis frantically looking for a restroom in Tokyo.
I did. I feel like this was the clear sloppiest shorts, even though there's some reading between the lines. So to remind everyone what happened in Tokyo, there was safety car conditions. Jake Dennis thought that it would be a big brain move to jump into the pit lane to take his attack charge. The only problem is that light at the pit lane entry was not illuminated, so the pit lane was effectively closed. So by going into the pit lane, he got that black flag, his race was over. But where that reading between the lines comes in is it didn't matter what was the condition of the pit lane. Jake Dennis had to go, whether it was some questionable street sushi in the morning before the race. We have no idea, but him going in was a deliberate decision. He didn't care if he was getting disqualified or not. Of course, he did go in. He got the black flag. And all this was a little blip for the commentators like, oh, Jake Dennis entered the pit lane when he wasn't supposed to. His race is done. That was the perfect opportunity for him. He wanted to be out of the spotlight. He didn't want all the cameras on him. So then he pulls into the pit lane thinking he's getting a pit boost. In reality, what he had planned for is that he get disqualified and then his team wheels his car back into the garage and then he gets out with no prying eyes to sneak away to the bathroom and clean himself up. That's my pitch for the sloppiest shorts.
Japan, most notably known for their foodborne illness epidemic. It's one of the cleanest cities It's one of the cleanest cities in the world. They make you take your trash with you. You're not allowed to throw it away on the streets. You have to take it home, throw it away.
Fair, but the cleanest, there's always, in a whole barrel of apples, there's always a few bad apples. Not many, especially in Japan. I understand that. But I'm getting into the lane of conspiracy here, but I'm totally okay with it because what sort of behavior would constitute a deliberate disqualification? All you have to do is check the pit lane. If that light is on, you can go in. He saw no light. He still went in.
You believe that he saw brown. He did not see a red light. He saw a brown
100%.
light, and he said, 100%. That's my time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about this then? For those of you who maybe did not listen all the way through our Jakarta episode, potentially for religious reasons, it was potentially the funniest episode we've ever recorded.
Like Pascal truly came the unleashed. Hardest.
That's when Dan Ticktum won his first Grand Prix, and we equated him to a second coming. And secondly, that's where Nick DeVries bit the nose off of Jake Dennis's car. And thirdly, that's where Stoffel, that's where we introduced Pascal.exe to our fan base. In potentially the funniest expression I've ever seen. I had not ever worked with Pascal.exe till this point, and I've never laughed harder at what that thing was programmed to say. Now, what we did do is we asked Pascal, and again, one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life, we asked Pascal, who then mathematically calculated a driver's potential for actually crapping themselves in the cockpit from sheer G-force impact. And it was pretty unanimous. incredibly possible, if not guaranteed. Like, the idea that Stoffel went through this insanely high G impact and didn't crap himself is less likely than it is likely. Of all the times we've speculated on a driver crapping himself, this is the first time where it might have actually happened. Because it's a head-on crash, truly quaking those valves top to bottom. And you watch it. Truly, you watch it. And they cut away from the impact because they're like, we got to make sure he's moving. That impact was so hard. So it is for that specific reason that I think that there is no other contest than Stoff Slam Jakarta.
That's a very, very fair and compelling argument. And I just want to say, because you kind of convinced me right there, Formula E is about taking risks. And as the host of a Formula E program, you got to take risks sometimes. But let's play this crash back so you, the viewer and the listener, can be reacquainted with the violence that was this slam. And then we'll get Pascal, and Pascal will settle the score here.
For Stoffel Van Dorn down at turn 16. Oh, that's a technical failure, surely.
The fence.
Coming down into there and no brakes at all. And this is De Vries later on.
Yeah, and then the measly little De Vries failure.
So he already had a 10-second
They're like, oh,
penalty.
De Vries has stopped on track. We can cut to him and make sure Stoff is moving before we see what's happening.
Yeah, there was the onboard again.
Time penalty.
Yeah.
God, that's so gnarly.
Yeah, he went to go hit his brakes, and there were no brakes.
Well, let's give it up to Pascal to let us know who the winner of the Sloppiest shorts is.
In sweltering Jakarta, Stoff had a high G shunt that ended in a prime biohazard probability territory given the heat, decel, and cockpit chaos. Compared to a cheeky pit lane DSQ theory, this one reads like the only truly involuntary brown flag moment.
Now, I will also let you all know now that when Dallas and I were in contest and we wrote our dialogues to suggest to ChatGPT in favor of our selection, I played a little dirty and I used AI in order to keyword cram as much garbage as possible, as if I was trying to apply to a job in 2025 in order to get Pascal to joke. And guess what? I have no idea how it worked out, but so far so good.
Yeah. I mean, you took a really good strategy of pitting an AI with an AI.
Yeah, no, I specifically expressed to ChatGPT the importance of trying to persuade Pascal.exe, and it understood exactly what I was talking about.
Well, you're 1 for 1 so far, but let's move on to the next award, and this is the Don't Give a F of the year. And this,
I know for a fact this one's unanimous, Dallas.
it has to be, but let's run through it. You know, let's let the people think about it, mull over. That goes with saying, hey, if you feel like, you know, you have a disagreement with the awards, that's why there's a comment section. Hop into the comments. Right. Tell Pascal how silly it was to make the picks, or tell us how silly we were to make these picks. But the Don't Give a Fuck of the Year award, this kind of came to fruition near the end of the season, where we realized, like, hey, one of the strategies to success for a driver is to just not care. And with that, the nominees are the Nick De Vries bite in Jakarta. He didn't care that he was running out of tarmac. He swiped right in front of Jake Dennis, took off his front wing, and kept on driving until his car pooped out right after Stoffel himself. The next,
if you're not out of control, you're not in control.
Amen. The next one, Pascal just straight up ignoring the state of charge on team radio. Engineer saying
that one was one of my favorite moments of the whole season. I will be honest, underappreciated victory should have gone to this one, but truly him just regurgitating his lack of care and awareness, knowing he was 10% down on the rest of the pack, that was a masterpiece of pure AI ingenuity.
Yeah, he's developing a personality and some defiance.
It's like Mr. Beast bars able to power and like 500 Mr. Feastables bars able to power an entire Formula E team. We know that's not true. Sometimes AI can make calculation errors.
Yeah, there should have been a little asterisk under Pascal's car in the tower of like, AI can make mistakes. Be sure to double check. Just so they knew, like.
Yes, at the bottom of Pascal's dialogue in every race recap at this point, that's something we're going to put in.
And then finally, all the way back in Homestead, it was Lawnmower Jev got pushed off of the track and just kept on racing. And Taylor, you and I were on the same page on this one. It's kind of obvious. If you're not racing on the track, but still in the race, you don't give a f, which is why the Don't Give a F award of the year goes to Jean-Eric Verne in Homestead.
That's
riding
right,
that
man.
lawnmower.
He treated Homestead Raceway like a Mario Kart circuit and managed to not only not lose that many positions completely off track, but in fact, he might have even gained a couple positions.
This is the epitome of not giving a f in a race where Formula E, the league itself, did not give a f as to where they were putting races on.
So don't give a f sandwich.
Yeah. Okay, Taylor, what else do we have here for our awards?
Next award, Dallas. Best Radio Meltdown. So, for our best radio meltdowns, we have a pretty nice gamut of options here. The first one of which, we got Mitch Evans in London. That was an incredible way to finish the season. That was frankly my highlight of London. I don't know about you, Dallas, but that one made me turn a few heads and start wondering what the future is looking like at Jaguar. It's making my Antonio Felix da Costa pick maybe not look so out of place going into that place. But we also have the other craziest radio stuff. We had Dan Ticktum in Monaco, where he literally screamed at his team and then threatened to punch an engineer. All sorts of fun stuff like that. That was pre sniffing victory. Ticktum, back when he still thought he was in a Neo. How things have changed. He just had to threaten to hit someone, and all of a sudden, the team put it together. And then the last one was Ido Martara, Jakarta. And honestly, I have always recognized Ido as just a very sweet, very sincere man. Like, he sent us a fantastic pep talk for one of our fantasy league trophies. The man is truly like a living legend as a gentle giant.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, these later seasons when he was starting to get around the points over at Mahindra, he was letting those engineers have it.
Yep.
And maybe the most fierce display of aggression I've ever seen from the man, which also is crazy because he was doing pretty well in all scenarios. He was doing pretty dang well in pretty much each of those races. Like, I think he finished like fourth, and maybe he could have finished third.
No, he was in Jakarta. He was second. He was pushing behind Ticktum.
Yeah. So it's like, what do we want here? Right. Would you prefer to finish fourth? Engineer's fault. So anyway, that's the answer. But Dallas, I kind of suggested it at the start. This was my favorite part of London. My vote went for Mitch Evans in London. But Dallas, you, a diehard fan and spiritual believer, decided that the Crown of Thorns Dan wore in Monaco was the greatest radio meltdown of the year.
It was.
Would you like to explain?
I would, because there's more to it than just the clip, the out of context clip, even though all of Dan Ticktum's team radio when he's freaking out is out of context to a degree. But this one, you look at the team radio, this was in qualifying, and someone didn't hit a key on the keyboard or something. He didn't have 350 kilowatts that he should have had in that qualifying session. He was in the duels. I believe he was in the quarterfinal against De Vries. To have a chance, this is the point of the season where the leaf is starting to turn for Cairo. Dan feels like he is in a competitive car, and the team it up. And so he went on team radio. How did we manage to this up? Like, really? Like, we're a team of professionals, and you've just cost me the shot of working my way through the duels and potentially getting pole position. In addition to that, like you said, he threatened to punch one of his engineers. He was interviewed about it after the session, was like, the team f***ed up. I've done nothing wrong. Like, kind of went like the spoiled brat that we've seen in Dan Ticktum in past years. He just doubled down. And on top of that, we covered this in the Monaco episode, he was responding to comments on Instagram and even made a response video of like, what did he say? Like, you loser haters in your basement.
Yeah.
And that was the same time that the show came out, the trailer for the Formula E show of My Life Will Always Be Better Than Yours. There were so many things circling this team radio or this radio meltdown that it's like, who are you going to give a radio meltdown award to than Dan Ticktum?
That's right. That's right. Well, you know, the thing is, that to me was the big turning point in Dan Ticktum's career. That was almost, for example, his rock bottom moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment where I think things got so bad that they're never going to get that bad again. That's the reason why I think Mitch Evans' radio meltdown was specifically the worst. Because I think it's just getting started, baby. We got a whole nother year of it. So never in my time listening in Formula E have I heard a driver erupt more spitefully over team radio in a series, like an absolute trifecta, than Mitch Evans, like Marvel Fantastic Four's London XL Arena E-Prix. That was, not only was there was an overwhelming amount of just pure hate that was coming in from him to his engineers for their strategy, an overwhelming amount of hate for his engineers in response to how they handled oncoming attackers and defending drivers, and then even more personally, like just discrediting everything that the team has done to get him even multiple wins this season, top to bottom. For everything that's happened, it was an unfathomable display of someone who truly is sick of what's happening at their team and wants nothing more than to try. Like, it's the rock bottom of a relationship, Dallas. Dan Ticktum, that was a personal rock bottom for him, in which case it allowed them to grow as a team. This is a relationship rock bottom, where in order for both parties to flourish, they're going to need to go different ways. And unfortunately, they're trapped into a lease where they're living together for a whole nother year.
Well, it should be noted too, while this meltdown happened, Nick Cassidy was P1, pulling out one of the fattest gaps of the season.
Yeah, the jealousy that you could hear in Mitch Evans' voice of like, have you forgotten that I'm the favorite son? I'm the one sticking around. Why him? Like, that's kind of what it appeared a little bit like from my perspective. But it was one of those things where it's like, it was a response from a driver that was either prepared for homicide or team relationship therapy. And I don't know which one will come first in this. I don't know if the next season's going to start and he is going to be the new B driver for a certain Antonio Felix da Costa. We can only hope. Or if he's going to have to go full hog and represent the entire team again, in which case Jaguar will probably get like 4th place.
Yeah. Well, we had to chalk this one up to Pascal.exe to make their decision, and here we are.
During Monaco qualifying, a car issue kept Ticktum from 350 kilowatt mode in the duels versus Nick de Vries, and he exploded on the radio. Why have we managed to bleep that up? Then doubled down in interviews after. The argument is packed with specifics, quotes, and fallout, making this the clearest, most documented radio meltdown.
So there you have it. Just even the score. We're 1 for 1.
He's like, if it's spanning Instagram racing news on top of Formula E, keyword, Dan Ticktum keyword crammed enough hate over the course of a weekend to win that vote. Also, I look like I'm spray tanned. How did I make myself look spray tanned in my camera setting? I don't know, but hey, it fits the theme.
Yeah, when you dress up, like you gotta, dress up your complexion. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe we put on makeup for this show.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is so hot in my office. I'm not gonna lie to you right now. This suit coat is going to make me diarrhea DNF.
Well, stay tuned. Let's move on to the next award. A little bit more of a happier note, more of a positive award, and that is the best one-seat wonder, which is the one and done driver with a team still TBD. We have Jake Haypenny Hughes at Maserati, one and done there. As the time of us recording this episode, he hasn't signed anywhere yet.
Imagine both of these drivers get re-signed at these prospective teams somehow. Imagine this is actually like the one-seat return. Who knows? But our one seat wonder is maybe going to become my favorite award of the season going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Of just what driver can accomplish the most given a temperamental option or temporary solution to a long-term problem of will I succeed in this series? We got Haypenny Hughes at Maserati, which to me is probably the most painful for a lot of reasons. I mean, both you and I are really big Haypenny fans. We built some lore. We would hate to see that go away in the series. We know he's a great driver, but he has not been able to show it once at Maserati. And that is also due to the fact that Maserati's attack boost charges were on the verge of sending him back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Back to the Future style. He had more issues and DNFs in response to pit boost charging than just about any other driver. But on the other end of this, we've got the meme team extraordinaire, David Beckman. Dallas, would you like to say any last words to David Beckman?
I mean, it's just going to be regurgitating what we've talked about before, especially in the London episode, after he got his one solo world championship point. I don't think he's going to get re-signed, and because of that, I'm really bummed to see him go, because he has been a treat on social media as that B driver to Dan Ticktum. They really complement each other.
Dan Ticktum's homeschooled cousin.
Yes, exactly. That cousin energy that both of them exude when they're together, not on track, because they're often very far away from each other on track, but in the paddock, just hanging out, shooting basketballs, all that stuff. Taylor, our choice on this one was unanimous. That best one-seat wonder is the meme team man himself, Club Beckman. I even went as far to say, hey, look at the results that he was able to ink out this season with the solo point in the last race of the season. This was the best one-seat wonder.
Yeah, I would also just like to mark this one up to the fact that he did earn a point.
Mm-hmm.
Had he not earned a point, this could have easily gone to Zane Baloney, who we are sure is returning, but might as well be a one-seat wonder.
Right.
No, Club Beckman has landed long term in our hearts, and we probably want nothing more than to see him take the reins as a pundit alongside Sam Bird as his new adopted project.
I don't know how those decisions are made if like someone who has a season in Formula E, how they're experienced enough to call it, but I would love to see it.
Oliver Askew.
That's a good point, actually.
Went from 1 year, did decently well, middle of the season, got punted by Andretti, and then immediately was commentator for 2 years, like an assistant, like jumped around.
Right.
And then I think has just probably faded off to some GT racing series in the States.
I would love to see just the drone and melancholy of David Beckman with a mic to his face as he is like the driver's correspondent or something, which would be hilarious because he would interview drivers. It's so wrong
for him to do that move. So wrong for him to do that move. I cannot believe he would do that move. You know, there's attack boost, which moves your power level to 350 kilowatts front axle, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive.
No, what I'm saying though is he's going to be interviewing the drivers, just kind of getting the word on the street. And some of these drivers probably won't know who he is. As he's interviewing, be like, do you have credentials to interview me? It's like, I'm one of your teammates. It's like, I have never seen you before.
He's going to go up to Dan Ticktum. He's going to pretend like he doesn't know him. Yeah. Like Dan Ticktum's going to be like, sorry, I can't understand you through your accent. What's your name?
Dan Ticktum has now won a race. He is literally too good for this.
Yeah, he's in a different tax bracket.
Yep. Okay, Taylor, what's our next award that we got?
For our next award, everyone, this is one that I've been looking forward to all season since it happened, which is the Darkest Spell Award. Now, what is the Darkest Spell Award? So, for those of you that maybe haven't listened to the podcast, Dallas and I both like to explain the inexplicable outcomes of certain races, specifically on workings and teachings of the dark arts, specifically from the Envision camp. There are our fantastic favorite team that looks like a bunch of Harry Potter characters, and Count and Sebastian Buemi is just a vampire. That's our favorite lore that we've constructed around them. But the larger portion of this is that there was quite a good array of very improbable outcomes that managed to make their way through this entire season. And so the nominees are, I also got to preface this. We also recently in London realized that potentially Nick Casti is, in fact, the Dark Prodigy. Maybe learned a tremendous amount from Sylvain Philippi over at Envision, and has used his time at Jaguar to maybe plant a much darker curse than any of us could have ever fathomed. A tale as old as time. A young protege gone off and maybe spoiled too soon, only to use their talents in the dark arts to hurt others, including the entire team of Jaguar. Now, Buemi also managed to do pretty well in a few other races, namely Berlin. I don't frankly remember why Buemi in Berlin is up here. I thought it was Jakarta that he got reinstated. But I'm going to take your word for it.
That's what we had on our notes.
On this one as well. Yeah. We were split on this one as well.
We were.
Honestly, we could probably just put a big cartoon X over Buemi in Berlin because neither one of us really know why I was on the list. So why don't we just go ahead and just slap one on there and post, Dallas? Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll do that. It's on the list. Looking at it right now, it says Berlin, but it was Jakarta.
Yeah, it was Jakarta. He got his podium reinstated. So anyway, we'll just squash that one out. Because, frankly, greater feats of arcane adept qualities have been presented this season. My vote was Buemi in Monaco. And Dallas, you chose Nick Cassidy for the entire season at Jaguar.
Mm-hmm.
What is your reasoning behind that?
We talked a little bit about this in the London episode. It almost seemed like Nick Cassidy sandbagged it a little bit leading up to those two races and then just basically proved to Jaguar, like, you guys f***ed up because this is what I've been able to do all along. And because he had success with Envision in previous seasons before he moved on to Jaguar, like you said, he is that protege to Sylvain Philippe. He's picked up a few tricks when it comes to conjuring dark magic. And so my pitch is that in that race, he had, throughout the course of the season, really the last two seasons, he's plucked hairs from James Barclay and other members of the team. He's been still reading his spell books on these long private jet flights to Monaco and Tokyo and all over the world. He's still kept up a student to the game and a student to those dark arts, and slowly but surely has crafted this, what is yet to be seen, curse on Jaguar. If we saw a little bit of it in London, we have to wait until the next season to see how that curse will play out. But I think that the seeds are sowed for Jaguar, and Nick Cassidy is the farmer. He's planted them and he has walked away. He doesn't need to worry about that anymore. And I think because of that, again, it's a little bit more reading between the lines, maybe, a little bit of a conspiracy. Like, how well is Cassidy caught up on his arcane gifts? But I think it's Nick Cassidy. And I think that this award will carry into next season. And if Jaguar has a terrible season as a result of this curse, and moments that we can pull from that, be like, that's from the Cassidy curse, then I think he runs it 2 seasons in a row of the darkest curse. Because if you're cursing an entire team, that is the darkest spell.
Well, Dallas, I do agree that the workings of dark magic, just purely emanating from Nick Cassidy, may span for seasons to come. Because as we let us not forget that Nick Cassidy, in fact, may have cursed Envision on his way out. Let us not forget Sebastian Buemi, specifically in a team play, managed to take Nick Cassidy completely out of the race, handing the season title to Jake Dennis. Now, what happened to Envision the year after that happened?
Dark clouds. We saw them.
The clouds, the darkest of clouds emanating over that team. And I do feel like that was, maybe we didn't recognize it at the time, but that may have been the first real showcase of Nick Cassidy's true powers. But now I mind you this. Over these past 2 years, both Count Buemi and Sylvain Philippe have been hard at work understanding the underpinnings of this arcane assailment set before them. Now, a dark prodigy is certainly a powerful thing. Nick Cassidy's power, we still don't fully know the strength of which his teachings have brought him in the dark arts. But after 2 years of working and trying, it appears that Sylvain and Buemi may have worked together not only to break the curse, but reverse it. As a showcase in Monaco allowed Sebastian Buemi to defy all odds and managed to not only just launch himself ahead of the competition, but end a 5-year drought of race wins. Now, I can't say, with my mere amateur understandings of the dark arts, but what I can say is that I do believe what Envision has managed to learn showcases their ability to overcome the darkest and most challenging of curses, and to utilize what they've learned to catapult their talent now further to the front. While Nick Cassidy might be sitting down and spinning his fingers and runes to hold others back, Envision is now propelling themselves forward. And that is why my vote goes to the original arcane acolytes of Envision and Count Buemi, the Monaco E.
Very eloquently said and jam-packed full of the SEO that AIs love. So,
well, as you may or may not know, I do play quite the load of Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, we had to chalk this one up to Pascal, and our cases have been heard. Let's see what Pascal had to say.
Buemi's Monaco triumph plus that Jakarta podium back from the grave felt like classic Envision necromancy and outcomes so unlikely it reads like a single decisive spell. The case paints Envision as the original masters of the dark arts, raising results from the crypt when logic said otherwise.
Well, there you have it.
Could not have said it better, Pascal. Thank you.
Our darkest spell goes to Count Buemi at Envision in Monaco.
Honestly, if next year we see both Envision and Jaguar down, I think it's a shoo-in for Cassidy's long-term career as a dark magician.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to become the Voldemort of Formula E. Just the outcast.
Could you imagine if he shaves his head? Or he shows up with a turban on to one of the races?
And he can't touch Buemi.
Yeah.
He just can't make contact with him.
Yeah. Oh, man. We are having too much fun here, Dallas.
Next award is the craziest crash of the year. And as you can see on screen, here are our nominees. Pascal, all the way back in Sao Paulo, getting flipped by our dark protege, Nick Cassidy. I've never seen a Formula E car flip before. So there's that. There's also Mitch Evans, Jaguar teammate to Nick Cassidy, that lost a rear wheel in Tokyo, and the marshal tried to catch his car as it careened into the Tech Bro barrier. And then,
man, I forgot how crazy that crash was.
Lastly, it wasn't a gnarly crash. It was just as crazy and how hilarious it was. In Monaco,
the banana peel crash.
Lucas Degrassi tries to pass/cut down Jake Dennis in the rain, completely misses the mark, and then just goes straight into the barrier and is out. And that was in the same weekend that Count Buemi, the darkest spellcaster, was. So there's connections, there's layers to this. But Taylor, you and I were unanimous on this one. I don't think anyone would counter to our selection of Pascal flipping.
It was the funniest start to a season I've ever seen. Is the previous title rivals getting into one of the gnarliest crashes I've ever seen in Formula E. Where also, like, Pascal, like, in a moment had to be human.
Right.
Because, like, the truth of it is like, thank God he was okay.
Yeah.
But, like, you watch that crash and you're like, oh my God, like, is he okay? Yeah, and he wasn't quite the same for races to come. It was his circuits were certainly scrambled to some degree.
Yeah.
But that was quite an electric opening round.
Craziest crash, most entertaining in the best way, because we did find out that Pascal was completely okay. that transitions into our next award, which is the exact opposite. It's the absolute worst of the season.
For all the good that this season did provide us, there were some very, very clear big ass sucks that happened this season. And a lot of them we were prepared for. Some of them we were not.
Yep.
Which I think is among the more important things to organize. Is I can go into some of these races expecting it to suck. There's some things I can't. And they're a complete surprise how much they suck.
Yep.
So, Dallas, our awards for the absolute worst of Formula E Season 11 are Miami, in quotations, Homestead Speedway, CBS Sports Finale, and rained out qualifying sessions. Now, Dallas, for this one, we were split again.
We were split. We had to chalk it up to AI.
We had two separate things that caused us tremendous interior struggle. I alluded to mine earlier. Mine was, in fact, the rained out qualifying sessions. And Dallas, you chose the CBS Sports Finale.
And I spoke at length of my strife with that entire weekend in the London episode. So just as a recap, CBS Sports thought it was a great idea to come in at the finale of a series and all over the broadcasting, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 commercial breaks in an hour-long race. The race didn't even start in the broadcast. It was a mess. I mean, you can go back and listen to it. Don't go back and watch the race, especially in the States, because it's terrible broadcasting. And I think even though that was just one race weekend, it was the absolute worst. It soiled what was such a great season, especially in the States from like a viewing standpoint of just hopping on Roku, streaming the race, dealing with commercials after the race was over, before the podium ceremony. We were spoiled. And for a series that is trying its damnedest to, garner attention and interest and eyeballs and money, they handed it over to CBS Sports because CBS Sports paid an ungodly amount of money to broadcast this race, but the execution was so poor it left a very sour taste in my mouth, capping off this season. And that's why I think it was the absolute worst.
No, it was. I will not let up on the fact that you're totally valid and justified in the hate this experience. But I had to turn my perspective to a larger problem. See, CBS Sports only affects us in the States.
True.
Which of the global viewers of Formula E is like maybe 10%, 20%. Yep. Like the United States doesn't truly embrace Formula E in the way that I think a lot of Europe does. But everyone had to suffer through a rained out qualifying session. And more importantly, a poor race to follow that. Now, imagine not only one race, but potentially three, Dallas. 3 separate instances in which qualifying was either delayed, canceled, or just gone through just the preliminary portion of the duels. There was a lot of rainy weather that happened in the startups of each of these races. And there's few things that hurt me quite as much as waking up at midnight to watch the Tokyo Ypres, wondering what happened with qualifying sessions. Or, let alone, 4 a.m. for the Shanghai Ypres. I'm guessing. I can't really remember exactly.
It wasn't 4 a.m., but for the
I woke
effect,
up.
yeah.
I woke up very early, or I stayed up very, very late to experience that one. I waited. In fact, I started nodding off next to my partner glowing cell phone in hand of just rain and Florian Modlinger sniffing around outside to see if it was going to stop. It sucked. And frankly, there's solutions to this that we are going to have to figure out for the long term. But also, this is just a factor of racing, but it specifically sucked for Formula E because everything happens in the same day. So if you got a qualifying, you're going to have a shit race. If you got a FP2, you can have a shit race. It kind of happens all in the same block window. So you can't just like snap your fingers and expect it to be good. You can typically forecast it's going to be a very rainy weekend. One single rainy day ruins a weekend in Formula E.
Yep.
So with the fact that we got so many of them really, really stunk. So anyway, that's why rained out session is my bid. Drum roll, please, Pascal.
Multiple times, qualifying was washed out and the grid was set by practice, nuking head-to-head duels and gifting track position by spreadsheet. For fans waking at 3 to 4 a.m., it stripped the core competitive drama more than any one-off broadcast snafu.
It's a fair point. I mean, I agree with you.
Dallas. My keyword cramming paying off.
What is that?
I'm getting this job, bitch. I program my resume to land at the foots of AI job boards.
You're 3 of 4 on these. I guess I shouldn't have spoken from the heart because that type of nonsense, that day is over. We just need to go data.
Do you know what applying to a job like is anymore?
No.
They don't care about who you are. They care about how much you understand how to get AI to write your resume.
Yeah. It's a good point. An AI, fantastic teammate for that or anything that you're doing in the modern day. But let's talk about the opposite end of it. The worst is the worst teammates of this season. The worst B drivers. Our nominees are David Beckman, Cooper Kiro, Zane Maloney at Lola, 0 Point Zane, and Norman Nato at Nissan. This was a tough list.
That was unanimous. I think we both know the answer. And it hurt me. It truly hurt me to put this answer down because I'm a big time advocate for this. And he's making everyone on Reddit like on me for having faith. And yet I am sometimes right. I did get him back in the seat at Nissan, but I am so mad at Norman Nato for his performance, and he's got to step it up next year.
Yeah. Developing news since we last recorded after London that Nissan made a decision. I don't know if it's good or bad yet, but I'm pretty sure it's bad to re-sign Norman Nato again.
Hey, look, Norman Nato is a great member of a team.
I agree.
Just maybe not the best driver.
True.
They're looking for consistency going into maybe the next era of Formula E. So maybe this year is a good place to just build those benchmarks to set up for Gen 4. But ultimately, you have to chalk up this entire year to a real failure. Not just Norman, but Nissan as a whole and their support of Norman. I'm pretty sure that Tommaso Volpe has recognized that this was partially Norman's fault and that he just was not being aggressive where it was needed. But in addition, he also got a sheer dump truck load of crap luck for some of this as well. Now, that's not the excuse that not many people want to hear. But the reality is that this is also going to be the first time in Norman's entire career where he is not a one-seat wonder.
Yeah, that is a good point.
He has been a one-seat wonder. He has driven in almost every single powertrain that Formula E has presented itself. And so I think this is going to be a real make or break year if he doesn't do anything with his second chance. then I think that he is going to be destined to spewing nonsense on IMSA and WEC podiums for the rest of his career.
Which I think he probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
But some part of him wants
He's probably
to
like,
say
I don't know, I'm just here. I don't know, I'm just here to race the guys. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
21 points.
We can do.
21 points in season 11 to Oliver Rowland's 184.
Well, hold on a second, though, because that is 21 times more points than David Beckman.
Yes,
so,
but that is in the World Championship driver's car. It's the same car, very severely underperformed.
That's true. Look, I voted for Norman as the worst teammate. Don't get me wrong.
I don't need to convince you.
Don't get me wrong. I voted for this, but I knew that if I left it up to Pascal, that I would just have my heart broken. So I had to pull the plug. Sometimes you got to do that. And Tommaso Volpe, I want you to be listening. I know you and I both love Norman, probably for different reasons. And I know you're listening, Tommaso. But it's okay to step away from an important relationship if you know it's going to bring you more happiness and success.
Wise words.
Doesn't have to make it personal. And Lord knows Norman has recognized that after that performance, it wouldn't have been personal.
And yet here we are.
That's all I got to say. Here we are. All right. Next. Ooh, best surprise performee. Man, this one was a tough one, Dallas.
Yeah, it was.
Best surprise performance of the year. So we have 3 fantastic choices. The first of which, Nick DeTeeth, who had, frankly, maybe his most impressive season in a race car since he got snatched up by Red Bull and then immediately put down the garbage disposal by Helmut Marko.
Yep.
Just frankly, to see him actually doing well again is actually it is a nice thing to see. I really hoped that it wasn't going to be the end of the road for him, seeing him get that embarrassed to more eyes than he's familiar with in Formula E. And also his lack of performance also in some ways making Formula E look like a lesser series, even more so. The Formula E driver came out here and blew it for everyone.
Made it
so
10
the fact
races.
that the fact that he made it back into Formula E in machinery that was questionable and has managed to continue to persevere is truly a great feat. But the next in the list, which I'm sure will be the fan favorite, is Prince Roblox, the Roblox extraordinaire, Taylor friggin' Barnhart. Now, you get a lot of rookies in the season. You don't get a lot of Taylor Barnharts. Nope. And that's all I can say about that one. But the last one, Dallas, nice guy Nick managed to really turn around his championship. Now, I know Jaguar managed to have kind of a rocky start. From what I heard, there's even like some issues potentially with like their inverters that they were using, which is part of the reason why they were struggling so hard at the start of the year. Once they changed those suckers and took a penalty, nice guy Nick was, for lack of a better words, off to the races once again.
Yep.
And also making a huge statement for not only the rest of the paddock, but his entire team of what they have just f***ed up. Because boy, oh boy, we called it at the end of last year that there's not a chance in hell Nick DeVries or nice guy Nick will want to stay in that seat again. The man made it clear he was not staying pretty early on in this year, but then he also made them regret it. So Dallas, who was your best surprise?
Mine was bringing it all the way back to Nick DeVries. This man has dealt with nothing but struggles in turmoil since winning in season 8 with Mercedes EQ. Following season, he just didn't have great luck. Stoffel ended up taking that championship with the Mercedes EQ team, and then he thought he was on to brighter and greener pastures, getting called up to the big granddaddy of them all, Formula One, racing for AlphaTauri, only 10 races. I always just think, when I think of Nick DeVries and Formula One, I think of the Drive to Survive episode in Monaco, where he didn't even know where the pit lane button was on the steering wheel. And this was near the end of his time with the team. So he gets canned by AlphaTauri. Red Bull dreams over. Formula One dreams over. What's he going to do? He has to crawl back with his tail between his legs, back to the one team that's going to take him back. But hey, look, his buddy Ito is there. Come on to Mahindra. We don't think we're going to be competitive in this Gen 3 and Gen 3 Evo era, but we're kind of the only ones that are asking you. So he came back to Mahindra, had a terrible season. The whole team had a terrible season. And then coming into season 11, I thought that it was going to be more of the same. Mahindra was just trying to hold on for dear life until Gen 4 and then maybe start to make improvements. But Nick DeVries proved us all wrong. And I would say, because the whole Mahindra team just flipped the script, but Nick DeVries did something that Ito couldn't do in less races. He scored more points. Nick DeVries finished the season with 92 points. Ito finished with 88. That is a pretty well-balanced team. You get performance from both drivers, but you have to think Nick DeVries had WEC responsibilities for Berlin. So he missed 2 races and still put up more points than his teammate. So like you said at the beginning of introducing this award, you're glad, I'm glad that Nick DeVries is back in the sport and starting to build that momentum of what we saw this season to then carry it on into the next and into the next. And we said in the London episode, we think Mahindra might be breaking away from the pack or have the potential to break away from the pack starting in season 12. And so with that, I think the best performance was Nick DeVries. Huge surprise that this guy came out. He's dealt with a lot and he just seems to, it's all in the rearview mirror. He's just getting better and better.
Yeah, no, truly great example of emotional resilience and really digging back. Still a little rough around the edges in spots though. You know, it's going to take a lot more to become a champion than what he was able to display. He's going to still have a lot of growing to do. And I know that at like 30 years old, that's probably not immediately in his future. But I think that undersells the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity we have to celebrate the Prince Roblox himself. Because, I think all of us hoped Taylor Barnard would come in and have just a good season, right? But I don't think any of us expected him to be this good. Mm-hmm. Like, he showed up and, frankly, showed us what the next face of Formula E is going to be, I think, in years to come. The fact that within, 8 races, he had already understood energy management. He was defending like a 2-time world champion. He was able to place himself in positions to make strong overtakes. And though he didn't quite manage to make that victory stick, his ability to show up and outpace people in the duels, on top of remain on the podium consistently for the races that was possible, showcased a true once-in-a-generation talent. I think the last time we had a rookie this good was Jake Dennis himself. Mm. And Jake is coasting on those good looks at this point. I think Taylor Barnard is going to stick it to the pure performance route. And that's it. It's like this 19-year-old kid, not only the youngest performance star in this entire season and in this entire series, But he is also now showing up as maybe one of the most formidable long-term successes that this series might ever hold. So I think it would be doing a disservice to Taylor Barnard not to commend him on that incredible launch into a full-time seat for Formula E.
So it seems like our arguments are kind of inverted. I'm saying Nick DeVries because of what he's been through. You're saying Taylor Barnard because of what he can do. And also what he did do this season. There's just more history and baggage with Nick DeVries. We had to put it up.
Hey, look at the championship standings, brother.
True. But there's more to it. So
Did you expect Taylor Barnard to be P4?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So you might even say that's a big surprise.
Well, let's see what Pascal had to say to our arguments.
From last year's cellar to double podiums and a late season charge plus missing Berlin for WEC and still delivering Nick's comeback. Had breakout aura at every turn. Early point burst, Monaco podium, Jakarta statement move, London double P2s. The argument shows a true shock value rise that lifted the whole team.
AI has spoken.
I hate that he's trying to like make topical Gen Z references, like breakout aura moves and. It sucks. Pascal, wrong answer, dude. Wrong answer. Whatever.
Well, maybe you'll get it back on this next slew of awards because we have the best B driver, Nico Moller at Andretti, Prince Roblox at McLaren, and Antonio Felix da Costa at Porsche. Now, Taylor, you and I were unanimous at this, but in looking at this, was Taylor Barnard really the B driver?
No. He got brought in as the B driver, but he retired his teammate hard.
Yeah.
He put Sam Bird into an early retirement, and not only that, by the mere existence of Taylor Barnard at McLaren and that team going down, he removed one entire seat from the table because every team would be a fool not to pick him up.
Yeah. Yep.
As a young talent, which basically like put Sam Bird in the shelter. Like, it sent him off to the shelter, like, immediately.
Yeah.
Just the sheer existence of him being there. It's like, oh, we can have someone who's talented for maybe, like, 7 years, 10 years of racing. Or you can, unfortunately, take a washed Sam Bird. Oh, I didn't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I won't say it.
Yikes.
Ew.
Yikes.
So yeah, it's kind of a hard answer. And I want to say da Costa at Porsche, but we both know that, like, especially during this season, there was not an A and B driver. There was just Pascal and whatever, bone and flesh was still tied to a contract that could drive beside him. I knew it. And I'm so glad that it's come out that da Costa and Pascal hate each other. They managed to win the team's championship hating each other so much. And, like, good Lord, that man's mental health. You're talking about comeback from Nick DeVries. Imagine driving next to Pascal for a whole season, just grinding your molars to dust.
Yeah.
And then getting rear-ended in a FP1 that, like, retires your car. God, dude. Dak, you're on to better, greener pastures, brother. But I think unanimous victory here. Roblox.
Yeah.
Roblox
He was the A driver after the first couple races, but still a B driver from the beginning. Very excited to see what Taylor Barnard is going to do for the next decade and a half in this sport.
Yeah. Maybe 2 decades, frankly.
Yeah.
You do a Fernando Alonso race to 40.
Yeah. Yeah, we could grow up with Taylor Barnard. We will be old men by the time that he.
You remember his rookie season, Dallas? That was a phenom.
So maybe not the best surprise performance as per Pascal.exe, but Taylor Barnard is bringing some hardware home in this awards episode with the best B driver.
That's right. Next, our carbon fiber buffet. The most expensive crash in Formula E this year. Now, Dallas, we don't always get the numbers as to
I don't think we
much.
ever get the numbers.
I just don't share them with you all the time because I don't want to hurt your brain.
Okay, cool.
It hurts my brain when people start telling me anything over 100. Oh, we got Mitch Tokyo. Wheel falls right off, heading for disaster. Retired from the whole race weekend, I believe.
Yep, he didn't race on this one.
We got Pascal, Sao Paulo. Kickflip. And then we got the Stoff Slam Jakarta returning. Dallas, I'm not an expert at assessing damage. I am confident that like Stoffel's crash definitely like cracked the tub. That whole tub had to get returned for safety reinforcements. But we were unanimous on this one as well.
We were. Stoff, yeah, like the tub got cracked. Definitely needed a new race suit.
Sensors had to be replaced. New race suit needed to be ordered.
Same thing with Mitch, like crashed on the wall, lost a wheel, couldn't race, but it didn't seem that bad. Ask yourself this question. If you see an accident on the highway and it is a car just like in a barrier that's just kind of all like crumpled up, or you see a car upside down, which one do you think is worse? Which one do you think is more expensive? This one was pretty easy to get on the same page. It's the Pascal flip again.
Yeah, it's the flip. Oh, yeah. It's the flip. Yeah, I mean, not only did his car get absolutely totaled, but also Nick Cassidy's car got kind of blown up from that as well.
Yep.
So technically there's two cars on the bill here for Cassidy. And not only that, but who knows how many sensors got fried in Pascal's neural network.
Right. And we can't even quantify that.
How many years of ChatGPT therapy it has to go to now in response.
This may have been the moment you were just talking about DaCosta and Pascal just hating each other. This may have activated a clause in DaCosta's contract where he had to go a week straight with no sleep because he had to reprogram Pascal so that model wasn't afraid of a crash and would still go, full bore in future races as the season progressed. So potentially.
I don't think that, I don't know how programming AI works. You're the expert in this scenario over me, but it's very possible.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for our last award and the one that I have been looking forward to the most?
I have been waiting all night.
So our final award, we normally cover the drivers, the race, the drivers, and then every once in a while, like there are some team principals that get mentions. They've already been mentioned in this one, Sylvain Felipe, but they're kind of few and far between. If you put a gun to my head and told me to name every team principal in Formula E, I'd get shot. But our award for the best principal moment, our nominees are James Barclay singing Taylor Swift. I believe this was after the Shanghai race. Nick Cassidy winning his first win in a very long time.
Yeah, the most, also, like, what the that is the lamest win you can celebrate with Taylor Swift. You drove the car with no contest. You just drove it in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
They're acting like this is a profound moment for their team. Anyway, continue.
Our next nomination, Porsche team principal Florian Modlinger, the laughing stock of a Berlin free practice session. Pascal had crashed into DaCosta, and bravo to the TV director, because they
Yeah.
made the rounds to every single team principal, and they all were just laughing at what they saw in front of their eyes.
God, Dallas, it was one of the funniest moments in an FP session I've ever seen. I've just laid wits to every principal and just made sure they showed them laughing. Like, if they weren't laughing, they cut to the next principal that was laughing, and then they would cut back to see that they were laughing again. It was like that scene in Austin Powers where he's like, "Stand up, Dad. Take a bow," and then his dad's not there, and just everyone just starts maniacally pointing and laughing at him. And you see it in Florian's eyes. He is seething with just deep German anger and embarrassment as the laughing stock of the paddock.
Well, and you know, these paddocks, the walls are temporary, so he can hear the echoes of the laughs.
Over team radio. Did you guys just see Pascal crashing?
What a idiot. Who's in charge of these goobers?
Yeah.
And then our last nominee, and if you're watching, you'll see that he has his glasses on. The last nominee for Best Principal Moment is Jay Penske, glasses off. Now, as a member of the media, we have to tread very lightly when talking about Jay Penske. So if you want to try and find an image of him with his glasses off, be free to do so. But just imagine.
Oh, you mean like the time where he...
We don't want to go too deep. It's a very powerful man. Allegedly, Mr. Penske. Allegedly.
That's right.
But yes, that mugshot.
We don't know what happened to that story. Who knows? Maybe this episode disappears. All I know is that
maybe we disappear.
I saw that image, and I said, "That's the guy. That's the guy that yelled at me on the street."
So, with no tampering whatsoever in our decision, Taylor and I, we came to a consensus on this one, and our winner for best principal moment is the laughing stock.
It's so funny. Dallas. We gotta play it. We gotta play it. Play the clip.
Antonio Felix da Costa sends his teammate into the barrier on the start-finish straight.
Even the crash is funny.
I have to laugh a bit because this is a very unusual situation.
Don't go and play poker, Tommaso. It's not the game for you.
It's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I think Antonio wants to give way to
laughs all around
and misjudge a bit the distance. And
this is my favorite part. The Lola Yamaha guys.
And then
laughing together at him.
There will be no penalty for Pascal Verlaine there, because usually.
So that is our best principal moment. That does it for our award show. And that does it for season 11.
Dallas, what an amazing season.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending it with me.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you everyone who's watched and listened and followed along. I know our base has grown by a good amount, and hopefully we keep that momentum going. So be sure to share, tell your friends who are into Formula E. If
you thought that we got any of these wrong in the comments, please let us know.
Yep.
And there's no need to keyword cram whatever is in the comments. We're human.
Yeah, we read them.
They pass through a human. We read them. There's no filter between your comment and us. So beware.
Everyone that has been riding along with us this whole season, thank you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. With that being said, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you soon.
We'll see you next time, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.